Well, hello there. This is Glenn Greenidge and Tom Pope, and today we're discussing how big corporations have accumulated all these profits. What is their responsibility to the overall community? Do they have one? And what actions could they be taken? Tom?
Well, I think as the average person, we all have a responsibility to our community.
Yes.
What about the corporation? We appreciate Amazon for what they do with providing deliveries when we don't want to go out because of the pandemic. But Amazon is accruing a large profit. Now, if they have a large profit and the public is suffering by having small businesses close, why can't some of the profit from Amazon be used for the public good to support the small businesses while they are closed? If we have other countries having the federal government in their country send money to businesses because of the terrible health condition, that's a public responsibility. Doesn't Amazon or large corporations, don't they owe the same responsibility to the public?
I absolutely agree with you, Tom. I think it's a travesty not to. I think that when I look around my community and I see small businesses having really tough times, and then you see, on the other hand, you see these big corporations who are now ordering over the phone, so on and so forth. It's great during the pandemic because people are afraid to go out. They're, the whole contagious piece. But as things are starting to open back up, what kind of support is available for the small businesses? You've got on one side, Wall Street and the big corporations making mega bucks. And then you've got the small businesses on the other hand that are just trying to stay open. They're not even making profits. They're just trying to survive. And so, yes, the pandemic is a different state of being, for us to operate in. But what responsibility, as you said, Tom, do those big corporations have, and some sort of redistribution or a piece of that profit that they've been able to make, given the conditions of healthcare and the pandemic, to give back to the community? How many of these big corporations are actually giving back? And that's the real question.
Another example of this, we still have the threat of a rail strike that could cripple a large part of the country. Now, while the media talks about the problems, the media does not generally talk about why workers want to go on strike. Workers today on the rail industry have 0 days of healthcare coverage. How is that possible? They have to be called at a moment's notice. They can plan nothing for their personal life. Now, in the early days of the union movement, the American Railroad Work Union was able to get rights for their workers. Those rights were given up. So now we have giant corporations running the rails. Don't they owe a responsibility to the workers? What about other large corporations? Shouldn't they be doing part of the public good, just as the public, in the form of the government, is trying to do, rather than placate to the oil industry. Why isn't the oil industry penalized for the terrible conditions of pollution?
Yeah. Pollution, fracking, all of those things. I mean, when you consider the fracking of private properties now, of communities, the fracking of the national parks, you know, where's this being redistributed to the people who are suffering, the businesses that are suffering? Because small businesses make support the economy in ways, as much as 50% of the labor force is supplied by small businesses. So why are we not supporting these small businesses with all of the intentionality that they have? They're able to maneuver and change course quicker depending on the locale. So they're more receptive to the locale. They have people who live in that particular local community that they're doing business in. So they're much more attached and understand the needs of the community that they're serving. So it's, you know, I think that we're focusing our attention on the wrong thing when we just allow the big corporations to make their money and not have the smaller businesses given some support, given the conditions and the situation that we're in.
If we're putting the word crime as associated with someone who creates fraud or embezzles people, why can't we think the same way of the private entity, the corporation that defrauds part of their public that they are serving? Shouldn't they be accountable?
Well, you know, I think you said a key word: accountability. We've all got to be accountable for each other. And so it's not about just one person doing okay and everybody else not. There's a community global conversation around taking care of the community, because there are aspects of the community that need to be in play. And if they go away, you know, we've got lots of not-for-profits that are doing key things in terms of drug rehabilitation. We're talking about training or retraining of people, getting those folks that are not productive in our society back into a productive mode. You know, finding them places to live, finding them jobs, finding them careers that they can work in and pay taxes and contribute to society. There are lots of small businesses that are doing those kinds of things, but they need funding. You know, they need funding to continue the work of moving our society in a particular direction that makes a difference for all of us.
As another example, the hurricane that recently hit Puerto Rico,
Right.
Devastated once again the infrastructure. Now, 5 years ago, we had utility companies put in place that were private. And many of the private entities that were handling this had no real record in doing what they were doing. This is a type of fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that system was still in place, the public utility idea seemed like they didn't have the funds. Well, maybe it's the responsibility of the private entities that are making money to give to the government so the government can handle those utilities.
Well, we've come into a mindset that if you're rich, you want to keep your money. And so you will do anything and everything that you can to not pay taxes. And then on the other hand, you've got folks who are struggling to get food on the table, to pay their rent, get food on the table, stay healthy, because they can't afford to get sick, to be honest with you. And but yet, we're not looking at that as a society. We're shunning them rather than supporting the movement of better healthcare, of better jobs, of better better products available in our community locally. Fresh food that's actually fresh, not a week old that you're bringing into our community to last a day or two before it spoils. Those are the kinds of things that we can be, and I think should be, focusing on when we're looking at community development.
What would you say in closing?
In closing, I think that it's important for us to be present to what's going on, to know and understand, the messages that we're receiving, and not disregard them, but really embrace them and look to see what can be done, because we have solutions. I don't know that the public and the press are focusing on those solutions.
One other possibility is we've seen more union activity in protests the past year or so. Part of the direction of the protest should be demanding a conscious effort by private entities to think of the public concern.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you, Tom.
Well, if you like what you have seen, get in touch with us at Community and Social Change Facebook.
Thank you.